Hi and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be talking about duck. Now, duck is a bit of an absurdity. You can buy 2 duck breasts for £1 less than an entire duck. So in effect, if you're prepared to buy an entire duck and break it down, you get legs, stock, a huge amount of wonderful duck fat for £1. It's one of those absurdities, and breaking down a duck at that level is really the simplest of things to do. We're going to take the breasts off the duck and we're going to use those for a very special dinner this evening. We're going to take the legs off and we're going to confit them. Now, confit of duck sounds terribly chefy and really, really difficult. It's actually the simplest thing on earth to do. And it's also a way of preserving the duck legs for a period of time. It would have been traditional to preserve them in fat and hold them in fat where no oxygen could get to them. But also it provides that classic French brasserie confit de canard. So, let's get on with it. So here we have our duck. I placed it breast side up, with the legs facing towards me. It doesn't really matter, you can do both of these manoeuvres from either side. But just to show you, legs this way and the breast sitting there. So the first cut I'm going to do, I'm going to pinch the little bit of skin just between the leg and the breast and cut down through it. It should cut fairly easily if your knife is sharp. Go as close as you dare to the breast meat and cut right the way down until you hit bone. Don't try and cut bone with a knife. It will never ever cut for you. Then we pull till we hear the bone pop, that ball and socket joint pop out. And then we carry on cutting the meat down through, and we cut through where we've opened the joint. We don't try and cut again through the bone. So hold it open and gently cut down through the bone. Now try and get some of the back meat on your leg as well. And the leg should come off. Ooh, bit of skin being a bit tricky there. Like that, and you have a beautiful thigh and drumstick. Exactly the same on the other side. Cutting down through until it's slightly opened. Put the knife down, pop out the ball and socket joint, cut around and down through the ball and socket joint and underneath to take off some of that lovely meat that's on the back of the bird. Phase 1 complete. We have 2 beautiful duck legs. So here we have the main carcass of the beast. That would probably on a turkey be called the crown. Sometimes you get chicken crowns as well. But if we look at the legs that we've taken off, pop that to that side a bit, you have the drumstick and the thigh, both of them in one piece, and plenty of skin and fat around them. That's going to become quite important in the dish we're doing with those. So here we are with the crown of the duck. I've taken a little bit more off one side of the other, but that's because I'm not a professional butcher. Anyway, time to get the breasts off the carcass. If we run our fingers up and down the middle, we will find the spine. If we go slightly to one side of the spine with our knife and make an incision and gradually start to pull the breast away from the bone. This incidentally is the same for any poultry. You'll find that ducks have quite a flat rib cage, whereas other fowl, especially chickens, are quite rounded in the rib cage. So we gently tease away as much of the meat as we possibly can to create what the French would call a maigret de canard, basically a duck breast. And we go around the bottom. There's a temptation to take the leg off with, and some people will. I'm not going to today. And that's one breast off and ready to cook. Left a little bit on there, slightly disappointed with that, but we're just making dinner. And again, feel for the backbone and carve down through the breast on top of that rib cage. And cut through the bottom, leaving again a little bit of meat on there, unfortunately. But we now have 2 duck breasts, we have a carcass with a bit of meat on, which we'll use later, and we have 2 legs. Bear in mind, in the shop, those 2 duck breasts cost £1 less than everything put together. So we have our duck breasts ready and prepped. I'm just going to tidy them up a bit. If we look at this side, we can see there's a fair bit of fat and skin around the outside. I'm just going to trim that off, but I am not, under any circumstances, going to throw it away. These little bits will render down a beautiful amount of fat, but also they'll give you wonderful duck crackling. Yep, duck crackling is a thing. So we just trim the edges off, and any obvious sinew would take off as well, so that it doesn't stick with the duck. This looks like quite a good duck actually. I might take a little bit off there as well and pop it in the pile. I will tidy that up. I might not put that in the roasting dish. Just take that little bit of sinew off so that it doesn't make the duck breast curl up when it cooks. Okay, same with the other one. A little bit of a trimming of the fat and skin off the edge. Again, don't throw this away. It's gold to a chef or even a family cook. Duck fat is second only to goose fat in terms of the quality of the roast potatoes it produces. Absolutely fabulous stuff. Right, so we're nearly trimmed up now, and we're going to put those duck breasts in the fridge and save them for a fabulous meal in the next couple of hours. In the meantime, the carcass and all these little bits that I've cut off is going to go in the oven. It's going to roast for about 3/4 of an hour to an hour, something like that, just so we get all these bits caramelised and so that I can pull off all the fat and keep the fat for other things. So there we go, this is going in the oven with its bits. These will turn into the most wonderful little chef's treats. And then also, when it comes to the duck legs, remember them? I'm going to salt them and put them in the fridge for 24 hours. So the reason for doing that is A, salt is a bit of a preservative, and B, it'll pull out a bit of the water before we confit them. I've roasted the duck. You will notice there are 2 carcasses here. In the meantime, I did break down another duck in order to create 2 carcasses, largely for the confit of duck later, where I'm going to be doing 4 legs, and also the second pair of breasts I'm going to be using in a Chinese dish later this week. So I've roasted these. All the lovely chefy treats I've taken off a little bit of the skin because it carries a lot of fat. Here we have a stock pot that I have about 1/3 filled with water, and it's such a simple thing to make a stock. All I'm going to do is in essence boil the carcass in the water. So we're going to pop the carcass, or carcasses I suppose, into here. I might get rid of that little bit because it looks very fatty, and we're going to pop them into the water and add a couple of things. Now, you can add almost anything, any vegetable to a stock, but please avoid peppers because they tend to go bitter. All I'm adding are onions and garlic to this, and just drop them in. You'll notice there are skins in there. They carry lots of flavour, and as nobody's actually going to be eating the skins or having the skins in their mouth, that flavour is almost free. The only other thing I'm going to add to this is a small handful of peppercorns, and I'm just going to drop them in. They will give you a lovely background warmth, and as you know from my previous videos, I am an absolute fan of pepper. So this goes on the hob probably for about an hour and a half. Doesn't matter if it goes for 2 hours, it'll boil away happily there. Now you'll hear in lots of chefs saying, oh, you shouldn't let it boil, it should only be a little simmer, don't boil it too hard, your stock will be cloudy. Once again, we're only making dinner, so let it boil, let it take all the flavour out of the bones of the beast and out of those onions and garlic and peppercorns, and then we'll strain it and create a beautiful stock. Okay, so in the bottom of the roasting pan we have all these juices. They are part fat and part liquid from the bird. We want both of those. So what we need to do is we need to pop them in a bowl and allow them to separate. The fat will rise to the surface. You can catch a tiny shimmer of it, that's the fat on the surface, and all the other stuff will fall to the bottom. We'll take the fat off and use it for other things, and the actual liquor that's come off at the bottom will pop in with the stock.